Alright, 6E20081, change of the ownership of the control. The pursuant to section 100531.9 with the license, Florida State license of statute licensed institutions will notify the commission with the prior for the change of the ownership of the control. The notification shall be made with a written note less than 30 days prior to the change of the commission shall review each of the case for the same license to make take an affirmative action, issue the new license after the receipt, value with the appropriate documentation payment, the required fee for the commission shall make with the final determination whether the change of the ownership of the control has occurred. 2. The change of the owner, meaning for the transfer of signed with the conveyance for the issue of the outstanding stock and other instrument with the ownership of the result with the change of the control of the institution. A privately held corporation change of the ownership of the curve with the majority of the stock and the instruments ownership of the conveyed with the which amount of the stock and other instruments ownership of the sufficient to increase the individual holding of the 50% above the conveyed when the majority of the institution governing of the board is changed for the calendar year. For the public health, for the change of the ownership of the curve, for the change of the 50% or more of the voting member of the board directors for the any 12-month period, or where the change of the number of the voting members of the board of directors over the 12-month period that will allow the group of directors to exercise control which cannot exercise control before change, or when there's an acquisition outstanding voting shares by entity with the group of whether there be entity with the group of over the 50% or more of the total outstanding voting shares for. When any other transaction occurs deemed with appropriate government agency constituting the change of the control, including not limited to the transaction required for the corporation, file notice of change of the ownership with the Securities and Exchange Commission for the United States. C. For nonprofit corporations, change of the ownership of whether they're changed with 50% or more of the voting member of the control by the board in 12-month period for the changing of the number of the voting for the control board in 12-month period that would allow the group of the members to exercise the control would not exercise the control before the change. D. For a limited liability change of the ownership of the curve from the transfer of 50% or more of the direct and beneficial ownership and interest conveyed from one member to the member to another or members when they transfer the direct for the beneficial owner for the interest as the result of the holding 50% more of the more than total direct beneficial ownership interest than any other member over the other previous member that owned 50% or more of the total direct beneficial ownership interest. When the transfer of direct beneficial ownership interest whereby a member of the direct with beneficial ownership interest decreases more than 50% or less than 50%. Or when there is another transaction where the member of the group of the members previously could not exercise control of the company described in the rule and they had not exercised control. E. For the purpose of determining ownership of the married couple shall be considered the single entity close with the related family. Also consider the single entity while others present future and irrelevant stockholders actively participate in the management of the corporation. No change of the ownership occurred but the stock and the transfer of the closely family member of the operation, law, and inheritance of the bond death of one of the stockholders. A change of the control means with the change of the organization institution with the effect of the authority to establish, modify the instructional policy of the change and procedure for the change of the control occurred by the person acquired for the loss of the control of the institution, other parent corporation for the institution, whether the means for the sales institution, sale of the assets, transfer of the controlling interest of the stock, conversion of the institution for the nonprofit for the profit, the vice versa, the similar instruction, transaction, and change of the control does not occur when the retirement or death of the owner of the institution, ownership of the control passes to the member of the owner family, or to a person with a pre-existing ownership of the interest in the institution. 4. Within the written notification provided with the Commission is required in subsection 1 of this rule, institution shall provide a written statement of the anticipated effect for the change on the name of the purpose of the program, personal administrator of the organization, finance, or other standard of the licensure upon its accredited status, if accredited. B. A copy of the institution's last application for the licensure review and noted with the disclosure of all the change of the material previously submitted to the new owner of the change of the case of the change of the ownership should provide a written sworn statement attesting to the accuracy and completeness of the materials presented with the Commission. 2. The guarantee of the new ownership will comply with the requirements of Chapter 1005 Florida State Statute of the Rules. 3. Confirmation of the new owner for the Chief Administrative Officer, the Director of the Registered Agent, if not eligible to hold in such position, licensed institution pursuant to Section 1005, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, Florida State statutes. Information fee required with the criminal justice for the information investigation of authorized in Section 1005, 4. If the change of ownership and control is owned between the parties regularly commissioned for the meeting for the material submitted for the complete and the compliant for the commission stand for the appearance for the best interest of the students. Interim consecutive of approval of the change for the interim provisional licensure shall be granted. The executive director reported for the commission in the next meeting for the further action. The currently licensed institution shall be responsibly arranging the conducting change of the ownership of the controlling the manner of the time so that did not adversely impact the opportunity of the currently enrolled students to complete their training, receive student services. In addition, the institution shall remain possibly responsible for properly completing of the training with the enrolled student. For providing student services shall be subject to the disciplinary action for the violation statute of the rule with which may occur with the regular regard during transition change of the ownership control of the institution. Issuing of the new license shall not occur Not only in manner of releasing the institutional legal obligations, role of the students to provide education for the services required for the students' enrollment in gate agreement. Chapter 1005 of the Rules of the Commission for the new licensee shall, under the continuing obligation, fulfill the terms of all the contracts enrolled with the students. Rulemaking Authority 1005-31-8B, Florida State Law, implemented 1005-31-5 and D, 5 and 8. Florida State History News, April 2nd, 2003. Or 62.009, closing of the institution. At least 30 days prior to closing the institution, owner of the director's administrator shall notify the commission in writing from the provision of Section 1005-36 of the Florida State Statute. Failure to comply with the statute shall be grounded with the civil and criminal penalties as provided therein. Rulemaking Authority 1005 of the 22-1E1, Florida State Law, implemented 1005-36, Florida State History News, December 5th, 1974, formally 6E 4.015, amended November 11th, 1975, March 7th, 1977, May 7th, 1977, 79, October 13th, 1983, formally 6E209, amended November 29th, 89, December 10th, 1990, October 19th, 1993, April 11th, 2000, January 7th, 2003. 6E210 agents.